What is up, everyone? It's your boy CP here with my co-host Aaron, and welcome back to the Feeling Blue podcast, your favorite New York Giants podcast. Obviously, today we're going to be reviewing week 3 against the 49ers and giving a little bit of a look ahead to week 4 on Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks at home. Before I get into anything, as always, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, commenting your thoughts and opinions in the live chat. We'll toss it up here. We'll have a discussion, whatever you feel like saying about the New York Giants right now. Tough times. We'll definitely prop it up and have a discussion. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is being streamed to at That's My Sports YouTube, as well as the CP New York Sports YouTube as well. Bottom right-hand corner, make sure you're subscribing. And at That's My Sports, speaking of that, at My Sport or at That's My Sports, sorry, tongue twister there. You guys over there just hit over 50 subscribers. So congratulations to you, Aaron. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing all right. I want more subscribers. I want more, but I actually
More.
appreciate. I actually appreciate all the Giants accounts that were on last week on our live stream, rattling up my Patriot co-host. So that was pretty cool. I appreciate the love, and yeah, I mean, going forward for That's My Sports, probably gonna do Tuesdays, probably the same time, 9 o'clock. So anyone wants to jump on, like I said, we answer comments, questions. It's all good. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling blue today.
Yeah, we're all feeling blue today. I completely agree with you. But the good news is that there's time to turn it around still. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, go subscribe to at That's My Sports on YouTube and go ahead and follow Aaron on Twitter at It's Cast Man 74.
I need to
Um
change that.
yeah, you do need to change that. Anyways, moving forward here, make sure you're tapping in with me. Subscribe, bottom right hand corner if you're talking, or if you're watching from my YouTube, bottom right hand corner as you're watching this. If you're watching from at That's My Sports, make sure you go ahead, come over here, show you some love, and all of my subscribers go show at That's My Sports some love as well. I'm on X and Instagram as well as CPNY Sports. You can find me there. Now, enough of the shameless plugging. Let's get into some topics today because we have a lot to talk about. First, obviously, we all know the Giants got handed a loss on Thursday Night Football last week in week 3 to the San Francisco 49ers. A game that, quite frankly, given the injuries that the Giants had, I was impressed. And I'm not sure if you share this sentiment, but I was impressed how close the Giants kept it through 3 quarters. But regardless of that, we get handed the L 30-12 on Thursday Night Football. A lot of discussion, a lot of talk about. Obviously, Daniel Jones is the main topic of discussion on Giants Twitter. Whatever opinions, we'll get onto that, obviously, here in the Daniel Jones versus the O-line discussion here. But what were your general thoughts of the game? Because I definitely have two takeaways from this game that I saw and that I was not a fan of. But first, I want to toss it to you. I know you want to focus a little bit on the defensive side of the ball, and I'll focus on the offensive side of the ball and we'll go about it that way. So what did you think of this game, man?
The first drive for the Giants offensively, great. Granted we scored 3 points, but we were doing some run plays, nice throwing, going downfield, doing this and that, and then all of a sudden it imploded. And I usually rag on the offense more, but this was more of a defensive game. So Deebo Samuel, he looked like Mark Bavaro from the 80s. He just 6 Giants couldn't even get him. We couldn't stop any 3rd and 15, 3rd and 13 on bubble screens. Bubble screens. I don't understand. And then I actually wanted to ask you about the Leonard Williams pass. I'm sorry, roughing the passer. I only think it was just because Brock Purdy hit his head. I think if he didn't, I think they wouldn't have called it. And also the Isaiah Hodgins non-call pass interference to end the first half. But pretty much, the defense looked terrible. Xavier McKinney, the whole safety unit, I don't know what they were doing. They were letting Jawan Jennings, people that aren't that good, just wide open. I don't know what Wink's trying to do here. They did a little bit better on the pressure situation and had 2 sacks finally. But I don't know. This defense could have played a lot better, and they just didn't want to show up.
And I'll say Brock Purdy didn't look spectacular to start that game off. And you're right. The third and longs killed the Giants. They finally got the sacks and the pressures, and we'll talk about Kayvon Thibodeau's performance and Obviously, he notched a sack, but it was a little bit disappointing as well in my overall take of the game. I thought initially he played well just from the outlook of it, but then I go back and look at some of the tape. I'm like, I don't really like what I saw out of him. Um, yeah, no, I agree with you. The defense obviously held their own. Debo Samuel, there's this one play. Speaking of Debo Samuel looking like Bavaro, there was this one play. Debo Samuel caught it, and I forgot who was on him, but Bobby Okereke literally
Oh my
goes
god.
up to him and he like thrusts himself into Debo, and I'm just like, dude, you got to truck that guy if you're going to be coming after him like that. Bobby Okereke literally bounces off of.
You're a linebacker. You should not be bouncing off a receiver. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's near the goal line.
Yeah, it was near the goal line. It was absolutely brutal, and I don't know what that's about. I'm not sure why the Giants are missing tackles. We'll get into it with Xavier McKinney's comments here in a second. But what I wanted to point out as my initial takeaways of the game is that the time of possession, first and foremost, you got the 49ers dominating time of possession, which means their overall plays they're gonna have more plays throughout the game. It was about 48-72 in favor of the Niners in terms of total plays being ran. So you have the time of possession being one factor. And naturally, like we all knew coming into this game that that was going to be a thing. If the Giants were going to win this game, it wasn't because they were going to have the ball more than the 49ers. Like that was just not feasible, especially when you talk about how talented, how physical, and how just dangerous that defense really is for the 49ers. Not many teams are going to dominate the 49ers in terms of time of possession, but that was obviously something that you need to point out because you talk about almost 21 to 30, 39 here in terms of time possession. That's a huge disparity right there. And two, the Giants only rushed the ball 10 total times. Tyrod Taylor had one at the end. I believe he had a single carry, but the where's the run game? Where's the run game? Because Matt Breida, like he had 4 carries for 17 yards at the end of the day, but he's a tough physical runner. Like we talking about Saquon. Obviously, Saquon notches 12 to 15 carries a game. I am confident in Matt Breida rushing the football. He is a tough, experienced veteran rusher, and you need to give him the ball, right? And I don't know why the Giants deviate from the run game so much. Obviously, Daniel Jones only had 2 carries. Forgot how many yards. I think it was like 5 yards.
5. That was weird.
They're running less designed runs for Daniel Jones, and I think that the reason is because obviously I don't know if you listened to any of the 49ers comments before the game. They were fully prepared and practicing and game planning for Daniel Jones design runs because that's exactly how the offense was moving last season. I mean, I can't tell you how many bootlegs they ran and Daniel Jones faked out the camera. That's how much they were running it and it was succeeding. So the 49ers obviously came into that game with that sort of game plan. So it makes sense why they didn't do that. But we also saw in Arizona, like in the first half, they really were like they haven't been running that many design runs for Daniel Jones. So I get that the offense can't totally rely on it, but at some point when you need to catch the defense slipping, that is a valid way to go. So, but just in general though, even with your running backs or whoever else you have there in the backfield running the ball, running the ball 10 times in the game is not acceptable. I'm sorry. It is not acceptable,
It's easier for the
especially
opposing defenses to just
exactly.
put 8 in the
Exactly.
box.
Exactly. So those are my 2 takeaways and thoughts of the game. Obviously, like I said, everyone and myself included, and like I'm not here to like be a negative Nancy. That's never how I'll be. I'm not going to be rooting for Giants losses, but let's be honest. We all knew the Giants had a long shot at winning that game. We're being hopeful. Obviously, they kept it close, and I'm actually really proud of the Giants for keeping it close. But let's be honest and let's call a spade is that the San Francisco 49ers should have and did win that game. Um, and I know it's just like sort of a loser mentality, but it is what it is. That's a superior team to the New York Giants, and they always were going to be coming into that game. I get the disappointment in terms of the Giants X's and O's and how they've been playing through and through, but there's not really much else that we could have foresaw in terms of the final score. It was really were the Giants going to cover that 10.5 spread or not, and they were looking like they were for so long in the game, and then they just let it slip out of their hands. So let's move on to the next topic, man. Honestly, I want to talk about this because this is a little bit of a shock to me. Xavier McKinney obviously got interviewed, and I'll toss up his quote here. Um, Xavier McKinney said in a press conference, he said, "Obviously, we've got to tackle, but that's not the reason why the Giants have lost 2 games." What is your assessment of this? This is not his whole quote. I'm not going to just sit here and say this is exactly what he said and this is what he meant by it. Obviously, he went on later to say he went on to correct himself, or he did something. I completely forget the whole quote, but Twitter, they're always gonna just post that snippet of the quote that makes the player like look kind of bad in a way. What did you make of this? Because I don't think that this quote directly it tells the whole story of what McKinney was trying to portray, but it makes you scratch your head because the wording here is a little bit off. Because the Giants, let's be honest, they're tied for third most in missed tackles so far in 3 weeks since 3 weeks into the season. So, what do you make of this, man?
So, are you WFAN? Because apparently, WFAN likes to do stuff like this. So, are you working for them? But no,
Nah,
I mean,
man, those
he's
guys
not.
are egregious.
He's not wrong because I mean, missing the tackles is key. And again, I think I said this last week, or I said this on That's My Sport. It's the same team as last year. It's literally the same team as last year. They just added a couple more pieces. Like Jahad Ward, he is playing like he is a $500,000 a year player, and he's supposed to be our run stopper. I'm just gonna mostly focus on the defense because that's kind of our big thing. We're giving up 40 to the Cowboys. We gave up 28 to the Cardinals. Obviously, we gave up 30 to the Niners. So it's like they're not tackling. They're not putting. I guess this game they kind of put some pressures on the offensive line and the quarterbacks. But like Josh Dobbs literally looked like he could be an MVP, like almost like a Lamar Jackson in Arizona. Brock Purdy looking like I hate comparing him just because of the way where he was drafted, but Tom Brady, he was not that good, and yet we're making these quarterbacks look good. Dak Prescott is not good. I mean, if anyone saw that game he had last week, he is not good, and we're making him look good. I don't understand. So it's like I get what he's saying, and I kind of agree with him. But you guys have to do more than just arm tackles. You're not putting pressure on. Like we were the number one graded defensive line per what was it, NFL.com or ESPN.
It was ESPN coming into the season, yeah.
Yeah, and we're not acting like it. We're acting like we're the
No.
bottom 32 out of 32 teams. I don't understand what Wink Martindale's doing. I don't know why nobody wants to play hard. Like Kayvon's non-existent, and I think you said it on a. Did you say on another show that there was a quote where he could go have like 2 sacks and then he'll just disappear, and then he'll come back
Yeah,
up. Yeah, like I don't
yeah,
understand. Like you're supposed
yeah.
to hit into running backs. You're supposed to just be explosive at the ball, and he's not doing it. He's stiff. He's shooting up. You don't do that as a DN. So I'm not going to compare him to Michael Parsons, which people are trying to do. But that's just kind of my spiel. And it's like the linebackers, they can't cover. Nobody's covering receivers. So it's just all these factors in the defense, and it's literally the same team as last year. So I don't understand what they're doing. And it seems like we cannot draft Alabama safeties because they're just box safeties. They can't cover tight ends, they can't cover anybody. And it's Xavier McKinney's looking like Landon Collins. So I don't think he's coming back, especially with the money that he wants. And I think we should do a 3 safety set and put Dane Belton in.
I agree with you. That three safety set is definitely something that they should definitely explore. Xavier McKinney in the contract year, not the sort of start you want to get off to by any stretch of the imagination. I think Xavier McKinney is a lot more talented than what we're seeing so far this season. But if he wants to get paid, he's going to have to turn that around real quick. And like you said, I just don't see any sense of urgency on the defensive side of the ball, especially when when I'm not going to say 49er, but I'm just talking about any opposition on the offense gets into some open space. There is no sense of urgency. And there is no aggression, to be honest. I don't see that aggression. When that initial contact happens, I see zero aggression from the New York Giants defense. And that's something that's not even like talent at that point. That's just a lack of effort and a lack of care. And I'm not sure if that really falls on the coaching. I can't imagine how it would when you talk about a Giants roster who is on the defensive side of the ball, besides the rookies, is comprised of mostly the same guys, obviously outside of Bobby Okereke. But yeah, I don't understand it whatsoever. And yeah, they're just making these quarterbacks look a little bit better than what they really are. Although I will give credit to Josh Dobbs. He looked like a stud against the Dallas defense as well. Something that Daniel Jones did fail to do. So I have to reserve my opinion on Josh Dobbs until further notice, to be honest with you. But
I mean,
Brock
it is
Purdy,
Josh
like,
Dobbs season.
it is Josh Dobbs season. But like the thing is, like, Brock Purdy, like, I think a lot of people hype him up, and I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but I don't see anything special. Like, he's a guy who's serviceable on a great team, a top 3 team in the NFL, like the 49ers are. He's a guy that can take them far, but he's not anything special. Like, you put him on the Giants might be, they're probably in a similar position.
He's a Dollar General version of Kirk Cousins. He's just there.
Yes.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not going to
He's
be
just
the guy that's going to win you big games. He's a perfect system for Kyle Shanahan. This is what Kyle Shanahan does. He did with
yep.
Brian Hoyer in Cleveland. He couldn't do it with Money Manziel. Well, he did do it with Kirk Cousins, and he did it with Matt Ryan, and now he's doing it with Brock Purdy and Jimmy G.
Yeah. I forgot to toss up this quote here from Nick Filato on X. Shout out Nick. He's appearing on Zane the Belt Guy's stream later on today at 8:30. We'll pop in there and does some great Giants coverage. I'm not sure if he's on anywhere else. I think there's a podcast that he's on. I think Big Blue Banter or something like
Oh,
that.
dope.
But I saw his Twitter account, X account, and direct quote from him on the Giants missing 31 tackles early on here in this season, which is tied for third most in the NFL in comparison to the 49 that they had all last season. That's just a night and day difference. And like I said, I know Xavier McKinney wants to say that's not the reason why they're losing games, but I'll tell you what, that was a big reason of why they put themselves in a position to lose that game against the 49ers, because you get a couple stops on third down here and there, cut down some of the yardage after catch. And the yardage after the catch, when you look at teams around the league, the yardage after the catch with in comparison to the Giants, like it's a brutal difference, man. It is a brutal difference. These I don't know if that's attributed to Daniel Jones in terms of the proper ball placement, or these wide receivers simply just like can't elude anybody. I'm not sure what's going on there, but the disparity there is large. I was looking at those stats. I don't have them right in front of me, but that's a pretty large difference as well. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about Daniel Jones, the Daniel Jones and the offensive line. Let me hear your takes because I have my takes. Obviously, you go across the Giants fan base on X, and there's it's literally like Nick's Twitter. It's Nick's Twitter 2.0 right now in terms of the Julius Randle discussion, and now it's turned into the Daniel Jones discussion where you have his fan base backing him up, a little bit more blame towards the offensive line. Or you have his haters, and they'll say that, listen, he hasn't been getting the job done. He had one fluke season, probably overperformed last season and got the contract undeservingly. There's not any, I've barely seen, shout out Tommy G. Tommy G said it perfectly. It is a combination of both. Daniel Jones hasn't been impressive, but the O line is horrible. And not many quarterbacks are going to make themselves look like elite quarterbacks like these people want to knock Jones for with this contract that he got if they have a bottom 5 O line like the Giants do. Quick other stat. Fireside Giants, shout out Fireside Giants. They said that Daniel Jones has been pressured on approximately 47% of his dropbacks this season. The National Football League average last season was 31%. So just around 50%, Daniel Jones has some pressure right in his face. I'm not making an excuse. It's the stats are the stats, and that's per PFF, I think they said. So, what are your thoughts? Daniel Jones, O line, mixture of both. What do you
I
got, Aaron?
mean, speaking of Zane, Belkai commented yesterday because he put his QBR weekly rankings: week 1, 32nd; week 2, 8th; week 3, 22nd. So that means he'll be 5th this week because his patterns are so up and down. Listen, I hear enough slack and enough things from my co-hosts because they're obviously like the guys up in Foxborough, and we talked about it with Zane Belkai. Follow him on X.
He's in the chat, by the way. He's right here.
He's
He
in the
says
chat
Daniel
right
Jones.
now.
He says Daniel Jones is not the problem. Shout out you, Zane. Thank you for tuning in. But is he the solution? We may never find out at this rate. I agree with you. And Zane, this whole time, shout out you. Like I'm gonna shout you out enough, and we're gonna hop on the stream here after we're done here on your stream.
Yes.
But listen, like he keeps it as real as it comes. Like I think it's a mixture of both. But the thing is, we'll never find out. Like he's saying right here, if they don't have the proper talent surrounding him, not only up front, but in his whole career, they finally got him some weapons in Hyatt and Waller. Paris Campbell hasn't been turning out what we thought he was going to be, but how many years into Daniel Jones's career were we begging for them to get him some receivers who can create some separation in the limited amount of seconds he has to throw back there? So it is like a half glass full, half glass empty kind of thing with Daniel Jones and the blame that he gets. So we'll
And
see.
Hodgins
We'll
didn't even
see.
get a catch. He didn't even get a catch. He was basically our best receiver last year. And it pains me to say this, but Darius Slayton is our best receiver right now. And this guy couldn't
Yep.
catch a cold last year and the year before that. So with Daniel, I feel like he's almost like a Dollar General Josh Allen. Dable's trying to use him like Josh Allen, and it's kind of working because they'll run him like 10, 15 times. He'll go off. He has the same speed as Lamar Jackson, even though my coach Shay didn't want to hear about that. What was it last year?
Same
No, two
top
years
speed,
ago.
maybe. I don't think he has the same acceleration though.
Yeah, I thought he was like 23. It was the same as Lamar.
Somewhere around
That's the
there.
only thing I care about. Um, but the O line, could you imagine Daniel Jones on the Eagles with that O line?
Jalen Hurts hasn't been performing. I know he was sick this past
Yeah,
week, but he hadn't had an impressive season so far either. I'm not gonna like, and I know I get that where you're going with that, but we do have to be careful with that because like I hate making that sort of like, you know what, I already did it early in the stream, so we might as well with Brock
yeah.
Purdy. So go ahead, continue with your take.
Or if we get the Dallas line from a few years ago too. It's just that Daniel he's looking like near the end of Eli Manning, where it was like 2 seconds and he has to throw the ball. And then when he throws it so hard that either the receivers can't catch it or they're made of glass hands from AKA Evan Ingram, Powder Springs, not finest. Hopefully Shay's listening to this one. But as far as the O-line, Shane Lemieux, 3.8 grade out of 100. He literally let Jerron Hargrave just come on through, sack Daniel. Can I use Daniel Bellinger as an O-line? What was that against Nick Bosa?
Oh my
Was that supposed to
goodness,
be a
yeah.
chop block? What were you doing? Like
Well,
that was
that
amazing.
who was that on though? Was that on Bellinger and Neal? Because they
Yes,
were both
straight up on Bellinger because Evan
okay.
Neal went and hit into the D tackle. So Bellinger was supposed to get Nick Bosa, and he just went like that.
It's a bad game plan in general. You don't use Bellinger on Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
And same thing what Zane just said right here. They're not using Waller stretch the field all crossing routes. He is our best tight end, honestly. And I hate saying this guy's name, but since Jeremy Shockey, and we're not using him well, or we're overthrowing him like that overthrow. I think it was in the third quarter or
Yeah.
beginning of fourth.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah. What'd you think of that, by the way? That's a hot topic too.
that
Did
is a
Daniel
hot
Jones
topic.
overthrow it?
I don't get it. He was basically open.
He was
And
open. That was a high throw, not a great throw. But the thing is,
I
for
don't.
me, it's like Darren Waller has to jump a little higher. Like I've seen Darren Waller jump a little higher. So I'm
Yeah,
not
I've
gonna
seen it
blame it on
too with
Darren
the
Waller. That was
Raiders. Yeah,
clearly that was a throw that Daniel Jones needed to make for 100%.
yeah. And I gave him my flowers this year. I've been critical of this guy since we drafted him sixth, and he was not good at Duke. He had the lowest quarterback rating in the ACC, and that is the ACC is not that strong of a division. So I just feel like with the way the Giants have gone about throughout their years with the O-line, they have not been able to develop any offensive linemen or keep them longer than Andrew Thomas. And also, maybe Bobby Johnson is also the problem here. Because, I mean, Jonathan Feliciano, he was loving this guy when he came over to the Giants from Buffalo, and now he's on the Niners. So what happened right there? He said Bobby Johnson was the best. Like he makes you into a dog, but then you lead up to this year. And then Brian Dable, can we finally agree that he needs to be the play caller? Because I don't know what Mike Kafka is doing, but it's not working. Like you could be the offensive coordinator, but you can't call the plays, bro. I don't understand these plays on like 3rd and 8s, and you're doing these stupid dinks and dunks.
So this is what I wanted to get back to in terms of not using Waller the way he should be utilized. Even if you're not hitting Waller, at least have him run an actual route to stretch the field open,
And
like
create a
Zane
diversion.
is
You have
saying
to
right
too.
here. We saw it in the preseason. In preseason, we saw that. Remember that first drive against the
Yep.
Carolina Panthers in preseason? Now I get it, it's preseason, but can we get some more of that? Can we get more of those looks? Because that's going to open up your Darius Slaytons. That's going to open up your even Wandale Robinson now, who I think had a pretty decent game coming back, obviously. There was one play where he looked a little woozy getting up his first catch on a slant route, but I hope he's good. Yeah, it's an absolute mess right now. I'm not sure who's even calling plays at this rate. If it is Kafka, it's not good enough. We'll never know because the Giants are literally so secretive about everything. Like we're lucky that Brian Daboll gave the media an answer in terms of who he projects the offense or what he projects the offensive line to be like on Monday Night Football against Seattle. I don't know if you saw this. It's obviously we have left side Andrew Thomas is presumably back. Bredesen's going to be practicing here out of concussion protocol. JMS, the mainstay at center. And then he's having McKeithen presumably start at right guard, and Josh Azudu is going to be the backup. What do you make of that? We'll get actually, you know what? We'll get into that. We'll get into the starting lineup. We're going to talk about the Seahawks. I'm just my point on that was that they're so secret about everything, even Saquon's injury. Speaking of Saquon, and we'll talk about it in the betting odds here. Who was it? It was just Jazina Anderson that reported before Thursday Night Football that he had a high ankle sprain when we were told that he had a mild ankle sprain. Did you see that?
Yes. So which
What's
one is
going
it?
on there? I
Which
don't
one is
know,
it?
man. I don't know, man.
Oh my god. I don't understand what's going on.
Let's
Um
address this real quick. Are you surprised
I'm
Azudu's been
not
benched?
surprised because I said it before we went on here. McKeithen and Neal have had a connection in the last two games. I think they're trying to keep that chemistry going where they're going to keep those two together because they're not bad together. I mean, McKeithen, he's all right, but we drafted him in the fourth round for a reason last year, so obviously he must be somewhat good. So I think they actually could do with oh god, I hate talking about this regime. What they did in the Joe Judge regime, where they were using Shane Lemieux and I think it was at the time Bredesen and Billy Price, where Shane Lemieux would come in on like running plays. Maybe they'll do that with Bredesen. That's the only thing I can think of. But I mean, Azuda wasn't too bad either, even playing left tackle. But yeah, damn near 700 pounds. That's pretty accurate. But I mean,
Yeah.
Evan Neal looks a little more confident with McKeithen as a guard more than Glowinski. I hope he never
Oh,
sees the
I mean,
field. I hope he
are
never
you
sees the field
surprised
this
at
year.
that? I was gonna say, like, I mean, Shane Lemieux and Mark Lewinsky are two guys that I can go certainly without seeing for the long run. So, yeah, man. And when it comes to like, I just want to keep objectiveness, like, in all my Giants takes. I try to be objective. I try to give credit where credit's due and also question the things that need to be questioned. And I just can't see myself putting 100% blame on one facet of the game over the other. Like, I'm not going to blame Daniel Jones 100%, but at the other, I'm also going to hold him accountable when he needs to be held accountable, right? Right. He hasn't looked the best. He hasn't looked the most confident. But on the other hand, it's like, how can you look the most confident when you're getting pressured? So, you got Nick Bosa in your face at the 1 yard line. Like, what? Like, how can you look confident? So that's just that. Obviously, we'll see how they do Monday night. It should be a lot better of an offensive line lineup, I should say, against the Seahawks at home. A game that we really need to win to save our season. And I do say save our season because the opponents that we have coming up are absolutely brutal. So,
Wait, yeah,
um,
one team scoring 44 points a game.
yeah,
That's in
it's
2 weeks.
nuts. It's nuts. Let's talk about Kayvon Thibodeau, man. Honest, raw thoughts. I know a lot of people have their thoughts on Kayvon Thibodeau. A lot of people are calling him bust already on Twitter. Got his first sack of the season early on, but then he kind of disappeared and was a ghost the rest of the Thursday night game. What are your thoughts on him? And I think we were talking about this before. What the R Lads guy was saying on Zane's stream is pretty accurate in terms of the analysis on Kayvon Thibodeau as a pass rusher in the NFL compared to Oregon. A lot of upper body power. I think that's what the guy said. And the lower half just can't drive through. He's relying on pure. power to get to the quarterback, and he doesn't have any finesse moves. So, what are your thoughts, man? Kayvon Thibodeau, let's talk about him.
Maybe he needs to watch Lawrence Taylor tapes. I don't understand what happened from his first year to now. Like he looks like he's a rookie this year than he did last year. At least last year he had all these pressures. He was, he's getting to the quarterback, sack strips, all this. And now this year, like I was saying earlier in the show, he's standing up more. He's not pushing through running backs. He's not doing anything to make it better. But of course, we're the bad guys. We can't voice opinions about, we can't boo them. That's his thing for, the social media. And I was listening a little bit on the Bleacher Report because they were talking about Kayvon. They were thinking of like 3 guys that we should sign. I'm just like, I don't know if I want these guys. Like they were saying Robert Quinn's out there. Obviously JPP, which I said when we first started,
Way back.
as a
Yeah, when we first
joke
started
to
this
sign
thing.
him.
Yeah.
They have him, Matt Ioannidis, who's more of a D tackle. So I don't think we should get any of those guys because they're just old. But I just hope he doesn't turn into knock on wood, which I have wood around me, is one high up draft pick that happened across the field in Darren Lee from Ohio State. I don't know if you remember him. He got drafted in the top 5 to the Jets, and he just didn't do. He couldn't do anything. So I hope he doesn't turn out like that. But yeah, but I don't know. He needs to watch film on past Giants greats because we've had great DNs. Like have OC Umenyiora teach you some skills, man. Like OC loves coming over to the Giants facilities and talking about it. Justin Tuck, we know Justin Tuck didn't develop really until his 3rd, maybe 4th year. Like he was backing up in that 07 Super Bowl to OC and Strahan. Strahan comes over all the time from what I keep saying too. So you need to learn from these vets. And I feel like he can be more of an OC than anything. And I think it's just his confidence too, because he's getting rattled by the New York media and not everybody can handle the New York media. We've seen it in most of our teams that we like.
Yeah, and that's something that was his strong suit coming out of the draft. I mean, he gave the perfect answers to Brian Dable. We saw the behind the scenes questions that Dable was asking him pre-draft. Like he nailed those questions even in his first year last year. He hit all the questions on the mark. He's a very well-spoken guy. He handles the media really well, which is a struggle for a lot of athletes that come into this New York market. And he's just a guy that like I don't think the talent is lacking. I really don't think that his effort is lacking.
Yes.
Like we see this, and this is not subjective takes here because we want Kayvon Thibodeau to succeed. I have his jersey, bro. Like I bought his jersey.
No.
I have his jersey, man. And so like I want him to succeed. And I'm not saying that me having his jersey means anything because I have plenty of jerseys of players that don't mean a damn thing to my teams anymore across the board. But like dude, come on. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting here trying to rag on him in this, and you're not either. We're here to be objective, like I said, with the Dan Jones talk, with all these talks, McKinney talk. We're here to be objective and what we feel like is the right thing, and we're trying to give credit where credit's due. Kayvon Thibodeau is not a talent issue. It's not a talent issue. I saw a replay. I think it was Talking Giants or someone posted it where Kayvon Thibodeau, forgot who the ball carrier was. It might have been CMC. He met him up the middle, made the initial contact, and quite literally just let him go. Like he didn't finish the tackle whatsoever.
And that's what I'm saying. He wouldn't have done that last year. What is the difference between 1 and 2? I don't understand. I don't get it.
It makes no sense to me. He's a player that we're going to find out about really soon in terms of if this is for real or not. His counterpart in Azeez Ojulari, I mean, I don't know what to say about Azeez Ojulari anymore. Obviously, it was the second game that he sat out. I think he got a hammy. He hurt his hammy a couple weeks ago in practice after the Cowboys game, and he's a guy that just balled out his rookie season, but has been riddled with injuries ever since. It's unfortunate. He's a pure talent as well. Can really get after the quarterback, but like the injuries is just really concerning, man. Like you said, we have a lot of greats that came out on that defensive front over the years for the New York Giants, and I'm not sure if there needs to be some sort of pep talk from those guys that come around to the facilities, or there needs to be some sort of tape that these defensive coaches go through with these players on those old school guys in terms of learning at least some sort of finesse moves or something to up their game, man, because obviously what's been going on is not working. And the definition of insanity is literally repeating yourself time and time again with that and expecting the same results. So like please, man, we need this defense. I think the rookies on the outside have been holding themselves pretty well. Their tackling needs to get better. Tay Banks and Hawkins have been brutal in tackling, to be honest with you. Two guys that I think are really physical in nature, but just hasn't been there so far. But they've been in coverage. They've been pretty great, to be honest with you. So I think they're holding their own in terms of rookie standards. The safeties, McKinney needs to be better. I think Pinnock's been our best safety, to be honest with you. I'm really impressed with Jason Pinnock. Big fan of his game coming over from the Jets. Still a young guy as well. I think he's only 24 years old. So the defense, like, they're down right now, but they're not out because the projection on these guys, like something like when we said it with the Mets this season, something has to change at some point, right? Like hopefully something changes. I'm not gonna say it has to change, but hopefully something changes.
Yeah, I mean, we've encountered Bill Sheridan as our defensive coordinator in '09, and that dude, I don't know what the hell he was thinking back then, but yeah, I mean, Wink Martindale is a top defensive coordinator. I think he's just trying to. I'm going to give him some slack. Maybe he's just trying to figure everything out with what he has, especially with two rookies playing corner. And I was actually a little surprised before we move on that Deontay Banks couldn't figure out Ronnie Bell. Because Ronnie Bell was at Michigan last year, and Deontay Banks was in Maryland. They're both in the Big Ten, so I'm surprised he let Ronnie Bell get that touchdown. But that's just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there. I think in general, they've been playing pretty well. I mean, do you think so? I mean, how do you
They're
assess the
rookies,
rookies? Like,
man. I mean, they're not
yeah,
going to be the Darrell Revises or Deion Sanders is out there, but they're going to have rookie growing pains. That's fine. I don't have any problems with that.
yeah,
I mean, Corey Webster had growing pains his entire career with the Giants,
yeah.
and he's a
I mean,
two-time
it's
Super
fully
Bowl
expected.
champion. Yeah, so
Yeah, it's fully
I'm cool with
expected.
it as long as they learn from it. And what's
Yeah,
going to help them is the reps. Is they're just
yeah.
going to keep getting reps against top receivers, and then they'll eventually get better near the end of the season, and then going into next season. I'm cool with it.
Yeah. And before we move on, man, like I said, I was at the game where Kayvon had the strip sack touchdown against the Commanders last season. I mean, I need to see that version of Kayvon. It was electric.
Exactly.
I was up there. My Commander fans, man, I was going crazy. I was in my Kayvon jersey. I need that energy, man. I need that energy back. Um, we need him. We need him. So, at this point, it's not calling Kayvon Thibodeau out to be a bust. It's
No,
supporting him, backing him, and just hoping for better days and hoping something just turns around and there's a switch that's turned. You know what I mean? So let's move on though. It was a brutal week, and we're gonna wrap this up, and we're gonna talk about Monday Night Football. It was a brutal week. It's been a brutal couple of weeks. Obviously, the second half of the Arizona game is the only silver lining. Daniel Jones put up a historic second half after an abysmal 20 to nothing first half. It's brutal. Right now, the vibes are where do we go from here? Like if we lose this Monday night game, it's gonna be bad news. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So it's brutal. I'm
so pretty much, I think what's going to happen in this game, hopefully, it's not like last year. I have the box score right here was 13-27. The offensive line gave up 5 sacks. The Seattle Seahawks, I call them the Seahawks. I always have and always will. We're not going to have Saquon, which is not going to be good. It kind of sucks. He was pretty much our guy last year in this game, but I think Daniel can step it up. I think if he rushes more against the Seattle defense, and we put a lot of pressure on Geno Smith. Geno Smith is not that great. I said yesterday on That's My Sports because they were trying to rag me about Geno Smith, and I hate Geno Smith because of what he did to Eli Manning in the sense of starting over him against the Raiders back then. So if we could put pressure on Geno, because he's got the bag now, and Geno really hasn't been that great. So I think if we could put pressure on Geno, I think we'll be able to win this game. But I'm just very nervous about this offensive line. I just hope that I think is Bobby Wagner still on the team? I think Bobby Wagner's still on the team, and just their defense is really good. It's a Pete Carroll defense. They've had it ever since the Legion of Boom. If we can just stop them, I think we'll be able to win this game. But we have to win this game because the next 3 games is Dolphins, Bills. I know the Commanders are in there, and I'll go 4 games in the Jets. But yeah, I mean, as long as Daniel has time in the pocket and the offensive line does what it needs to do, I think we'll be able to win this game. And I think as long as Wink Martindale puts pressure on Geno Smith, there shouldn't be a problem.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Hold on 1 second. Boom. Had that switch up. Okay. I know you started. I appreciate you taking over. My mic always does this. I'm not sure why. I got to figure that out. But I just wanted to close out this segment here in terms of the Thursday nights. Like the morale's down. I'm not sure how much of of my spiel you heard, but obviously the morale's down. Fully expecting the Giants to be back in the playoffs. I'm not going to create false expectations. I never thought they were going to be contender this year. But I'm expecting to be back in the playoffs, but it has to start this Monday Night Football game because we're in big trouble if we don't. And I heard you the tail end of your spiel there about the upcoming opponents, so I definitely agree. Now let's get into it though. The Giants, shockingly enough, I'm surprised that they're even at even odds here against the Seahawks week 4 at home. It's going to be an interesting game, to be honest with you. It's a team that we lost to last season, obviously, and I think a fluke game, to be honest. I think Richie James, had that muffed punt return. I think it was Richie James,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So the line on this actually is telling a bigger story because 2 days ago I checked this line very, very early on, obviously, with this being a Monday Night Football game. It was at the Giants being favorites at home at -1.5. Now, a couple days later, it's at even odds. So that tells me a couple
Oh
things.
wow.
But the biggest thing is that probably tells me Saquon is not a lock to be playing this week, to be honest with you, because if I know anything about sports betting or Vegas in general, is that Vegas usually knows best, to be honest with you. They have all that insider info, whether people want to believe it or not. And there's probably some report out there, regardless of the Giants wanting to not be truthful with the media and the fans and whatever, because of whatever, maybe game plan, maybe just blowing smoke. I don't know what the issue is there or why they can't be transparent, but maybe there is a bigger truth than what initially was reported with the mild ankle sprain. Now, I'm just purely speculating based off of a 1.5 of odds, but Vegas takes that stuff very seriously. So let's look out for Saquon if he's going to be coming back, because I think the consensus was that he should be coming back in terms of an accelerated timeline. I'm not even sure that it was a 3-week timeline, so I'll give him that. But I don't know. You hear these conflicting reports of the severity of this ankle injury. I don't know, man.
I don't want him back. If he's not healthy, I don't want him back. We said it with Zane when it was his second year in the league, and he had the high ankle sprain. Same thing. And he tried to play hero ball and it hurt it even more, and had to stay out of that season. So as I want that ankle to be 100% because we're going to need him down the stretch. I would be nice to, use him for the Miami this game, Bills and all that. But I mean, Matt Breida is not a bad running back. We just didn't use him for some weird, odd reason. But maybe it's because the offensive line is just trash. Maybe this version of offensive line will be better for Matt Breida. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I was gonna say the offensive line is definitely the lineup is shaking out to be a lot better than what we saw in San Francisco. So I'm expecting the Giants to run the ball early and often. And if they deviate away from that again, then I'm gonna have an absolute problem with whoever's calling these plays because that is just going to be like you said, Burita is a tough runner. He will get you a couple yards after initial contact is made because he just keeps his legs moving from under him, and it's not going to make any sense to me if they deviate away from the run. I mean, 4 rushes for Matt Breida. I mean, I get it. Saquon's out, but you got to rush the ball with Matt Breida more than 4 times, to be honest with
Yep.
you.
And I
Don't
know
know if you.
Kafka wasn't
Yeah, go ahead.
there in Kansas City, but he's almost like an Isaiah Pacheco.
Mm.
Almost like that.
Yep.
So hopefully, Kafka doesn't think that we don't need to run the ball because the Chiefs really don't. when he was there, and now that he's really not. So we need to run the ball. That is Giants football to the T. Whether it was with Joe
Yeah.
Morris, Tiki, Brandon, running, we need to run the ball to win games.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Jamal Adams is back for the
Oh
Seahawks.
Jesus!
I didn't take a look at their injury report. I'm not sure who else is out for them. I know they had a couple of O-line injuries up front. I'm not sure if
Jamal
they're back or
Adams.
projected to be back, but Jamal Adams is back. Um,
I ain't worried about him.
I want to see the matchups. This is gonna be interesting. I mean, you talk about Lockett and DK. You talk about the outside rookies. I mean, Dory Jackson. We got a Dory Jackson too, but
Well, last
um,
year, I have it up right here. Last year, Lockett went 5 for 63 touchdown, and Metcalf went 6 for 55 touchdown. And that's with
yeah, you got to
the abysmal corners that we had besides Adoree. So
yeah, yeah. So let's keep an eye out on those matchups. I got DK in fantasy, but I'd be happy if he goes under 20 yards, under 30 yards, and no tutties. That's fine. I'll take the L. This is a game. I think the Giants, to be honest with you, I said this against Dallas and I looked a little foolish, but I think the Giants should win this game, to be honest with you. This
so
is a game that I think that the Giants are just as talented on paper as the Seahawks are. And I just, and you know, the storyline of this game is going to be Geno versus Daniel Jones in terms of their contract extensions. You just know that's going to be the case. So I hope for Danny's sake that he performs well because if the DJ haters are bad now, if he lays an egg out there against his counterpart in Geno Smith, it's gonna be even worse. Not that I care about what those people think, but it's just I am on Twitter, I am on X, and I see those tweets by default all the time. And I'm gonna have a brutal week if Danny lays an egg and the Giants lose to Geno Smith and the Seahawks.
but when you clocked out, I pretty much said because yesterday I was getting some slack from the Geno fans, aka Hollywood
Geno
Ray and
Hive, the Geno
Shady,
Hive.
yeah, the Geno Hive, aka Hollywood Ray and Shady, because I said I hate Geno Smith because of what he did to Eli Manning by taking that start against the Raiders. So I hope this D line just smashes Geno because I don't feel like he's really that good. He got his bag, secured it, so now he's just there.
Well, I respect what he did though. I mean, he was a certified backup and he got his opportunity with the Seahawks, and I respect that he did, and I respect the bag that he got, but I agree with you. I just don't I think like same thing with Brock Purdy. Like you just look at a quarterback and you just like, I mean, prove me wrong. Go out there and lay one on the Giants, but like I don't see it to be honest with you. Talk about another quarterback that has more weapons than Daniel Jones does, and I'm not making the weapons excuse anymore for Daniel Jones because my whole narrative, and if you look back at all the Feeling Blue podcasts that we've done, I said what Danny has on the outside is serviceable enough to get through the season. And so I'm not going to make that all of a sudden excuse for him now. That would be going back on my word, and that would be me being fake. So he just doesn't have that wide receiver one. We'll call it that. Darren Waller is that, but he really isn't. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, I agree with you. It's gonna be a huge storyline. Monday Night Football prime time. Geno versus Daniel Jones. Obviously, you know, Jamal Adams, I guess, is still a thing in the league, but I mean, I am not gonna headline him to be honest with you. I want to see how that right side of the offense holds up, and I want to see how the interior of our defense, if they're gonna be physical. And we didn't even talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Micah McFadden. We didn't even talk about him. The
Oh
dude racked
God.
up 10 sacks. He was all over the place. And I know you don't like the guy, but dude, he had one of the better games on the defensive side of the ball for the Giants. He was a ball hawk last week. When the Giants needed a ball hawk, he stepped up and was a ball hawk. I mean, you look at everybody else, Bobby, Isaiah Simmons, you look at Basham, who was stepping up? Micah McFadden stepped up.
But
I don't know what else you.
But he did that in week one, but didn't do it in week two. So is he like Daniel Jones where he'll go up, he's gonna go up and down. So he's not gonna do good this week, but then next week he's good and then go like that.
Well, that's what we said about Kayvon Thibodeau just right now. I
True.
mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, but the Giants need like whatever Micah McFadden produced last week, they need to like go in there and he needs to give a lesson to everybody on defense. Like this is how you go and make a tackle. This is how you go and read the ball. This is how you go and finish the play. Because he was all over the place, and I want to shout him out because I've been high on him all season. And in a game where the Giants missed a bunch of tackles, it was 15, 16 plus missed tackles in one single game. he stepped up. So yeah, man, they need to be physical. I'm tired of teams out. I'm not gonna rephrase this. I'm tired of teams outperforming the Giants in terms of physicality. The
Yeah.
Giants need to be the aggressors. And we have not seen that. And I'm surprised we haven't seen it because I think a lot of times last year we did see it. And that was one thing that I was really proud of that 2022 team. And that's the reason why, or part of the reason why I should say, of why they got to the playoffs. But in the early goings, they have looked timid and they have looked soft, for a better lack of a term. They have looked they're a soft defense.
Yeah, and that's not Giants football at all.
No, it's not.
Not at all.
So Monday Night Football, even odds right now. I will not be surprised if in the coming days the Seahawks end up being the favorites to win the game, probably by I want to say no more than a point and a half. I think it's going to swing. The Giants were the favorites a couple days ago by a point and a half. I think the Seahawks swing by a point and a half. By default, keep an eye out on Saquon's situation because of that line movement. The O line should be back and healthy. Bredesen out of concussion protocol. Andrew Thomas feeling better. Going to be playing on that hamstring. Hopefully, no tweakage.
Let's stick it
JMS
to Julian
mainstay.
Love. Let's stick it to him.
Julian Love. Let's talk about Julian Love.
Let's
Someone.
stick it to him.
Yeah,
That
man. He
bum.
hasn't been looking too. He hasn't looking been pretty. He hasn't been looking too pretty over there in Seattle so far when he got
He's a
that contract.
bum. He's another guy. He couldn't tackle. He was getting destroyed by running backs.
Yeah. I saw, unfortunately, the guy who Zane interviewed as well from our lads said that the Giants miss Julian Love, and a lot of people were getting on him on that because they're
No.
like, yeah. I think the Giants are fine at safety. I think safety is the least of our worries
It's
on this
linebacker,
team.
really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I mean, outside of, I mean, Leonard Williams got 2 QB hits last week. Dexter Williams or Dexter Lawrence, sorry, I don't know why I keep on saying Dexter Williams, but Dexter Lawrence is going to be Dexy. He has been great. He's been one of the Giants' better defenders this season, even though it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. He's always getting double teamed, creating at least some sort of pressure. They always have to game plan for him. They got to figure out that right side of the D line, man. Some pressure's got to come from that right side. It can't just be Leo and Dexter figuring out every week. So it needs to be a total team effort. And that's the way you're going to beat these teams coming up. Like if you have any chance of beating the Bills, if you have any chance of beating the Seahawks, the Dolphins, the Eagles, it's got to be a total team effort. This can't be a one-man show and Dexter Lawrence doing all the work for you. Like Kayvon, step up. Like Aziz, if he's back, step up. Like, come on now. Monday Night Football at home. Man, listen, I need a win. This is going to be a depressing podcast episode for me personally. I can't bring the energy if we lose to the Seahawks because at that point I might have to call it quits on our season in terms of my outlook in terms of the playoffs. I
I
will
don't
not
want to
stop
hear it from
watching, but
Hollywood Ray and Shaggy as well. I don't want to hear it
oh,
from
I'm
them.
sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Um, Moving on. Last topic of the day, brief outlook of what we saw in general, not specifically Giants related, although you see the Giants score up there. These are not all of the game scores from this previous week. A couple of games to note. Obviously, the Colts pulling the upset with Gardner Minshew at the helm. Dolphins putting a 70 burger on the Broncos.
It's
Patriots
awesome.
squeaking a win by with the Jets and Zach Wilson. A whole bunch of drama. They just signed Trevor Simeon. I'm not sure what help that's going to do, but good old whatever Douglas his name is, GMing over there.
Joe Douglas, yeah.
Um, Joe Douglas, yeah. Bills put a smacking on the Commanders. That was a rough one. Had a
Oh, I
couple
thought
friends
Sam
who went through
Howell was
that.
that guy. Threw 4
Yeah,
picks,
right.
130
It was
yards.
it was funny. It was funny. He's on pace. I saw a stat. He's on pace to get sacked 107 times this season as well. Sam Howell is. So
Oh, Jesus.
that offensive line has not been protecting him either. So Packers, Jordan Love's been absolutely impressive. Texans surprising win. CJ Stroud is I take everything back I said about CJ Stroud. Wasn't convinced on him. He's been performing lights out. Got a Texans a huge dub. I think the funniest game and how it ended was that Chargers game, but I'm gonna let you go here and spit for a couple seconds. What were your thoughts and opinions on this previous week around the league?
Well, didn't Kirk Cousins say it was too loud or something like that?
I'm
That
not
was
sure what
why he threw
excuse he
that
made, but
pick.
that's what
Yeah,
he said.
it was some stupid excuse. So does that mean we're better than the Cowboys because we beat the Cardinals? I don't know. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, it's just the Cardinals. Why you guys ragging on the Cowboys?" I don't know because everyone kept saying our comeback was nothing. So that
That
was
was
the
a That was a bad. I'm gonna say this right now. Dak Prescott, absolutely pathetic in terms of the
Oh, yeah.
deflection post game there. But the associative property, we're gonna take that one from the Cowboys and just say we're better.
Yeah. Love
By
again.
associative property.
Love the Sam Howell 4 picks because they were saying he was great. Broncos country, let's ride. I mean, oh my god, a 70 burger. I thought we were bad, but that's even worse. The Ravens game was interesting because that was a PI on Zay Flowers, but they didn't call it.
Yeah. Mhm.
And Jets were 1 foot away. Randall Cobb slipped on the turf because of
Saw
the
that.
rain, and he would have had that touch. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting week this week.
It was, man. Zach Wilson, man, I just can't get over. I said it on my Thursday night lights show with the boys. Like, I
Yeah.
don't believe in that guy. I said it. I said it
WF
this past Sunday too.
WFAN fans, when I listen to it when I go into work at 1:20 in the morning, they want Tim Boyle. They want Tim Boyle starting.
Interesting. That's It's just a sad trajectory his career's gone down in his first 3 years in the league. It's very sad. Very sad. Got to feel for the guy, but he's not performing. I want to shout out the Packers, dude. The Packers and Jordan Love and what they're doing. I mean, they went down 17-0 against the Saints at halftime. Obviously, unfortunate Derek Carr went down. He should be fine moving forward. But Jordan Love, man. Jordan Love, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. What do you think, man? Devontae Adams back to the pack? They could use
Nah,
him.
he ain't coming back. I said yesterday, we all made predictions. I said yesterday, like the Browns, because he wants to
Okay.
win. So that's a good
Okay.
spot. I think Hollywood Ray or was it Shade? They said the Ravens would be a good
Okay.
option because of the OBJ thing. He's kind of hurt and Lamar Jackson, but nobody wants that contract. I feel like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't think he's gonna go back to the pack. He wouldn't have accepted that trade if
Yeah.
he had and it says Greg, side note, Greg Jennings said it best. No NFL veteran wants to go to Green Bay. There's nothing to do in Green Bay besides make kids. He's like,
Oh,
that's how
dude, I know
boring it
that all
is.
too well. I've been up there. I've been up there. It's so surprising. It was nothing like I expected Green Bay to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit more, a little busier, but like you said, there's nothing to do over there. So I got no doubts that that's not a hot destination, but it is a football town. They are very prideful up
Oh
there,
yeah.
and that's something I will give them. And because that's basically all they got over there. So, but anyways, yeah, man. This was the Feeling Blue pod. I appreciate you taking the time to talk some Giants with me, man. Obviously, we're gonna be back here with the man, the myth, the legend, Tommy G, next Wednesday, October 4th, recapping, reviewing Monday Night Football. We're going to talk about the Giants. If you don't subscribe to Tommy G's pod, I'm going to link it in the description down below. Make sure you go hit that subscribe button on his stuff. Follow him on X as well. Absolutely, just like content every single day. And he's very objective and rational with his takes, which is something that is very hard to come by right now with the New York Giants fan base. So um, this was Feeling Blue. And I'm going to let you get your final thoughts off here. But before you do that, just want to say make sure you go ahead over to at That's My Sport, subscribe to them on YouTube, follow Aaron on X. That is most important. And second, most important, hit that thumbs up on this video. If you hadn't got a chance to watch it live, if you're watching the run through, hit that thumbs up, comment your thoughts and opinions on anything that we said today. Would love to hear you guys' uh, opinions, takes. There's a lot going on right now, a lot to sort of soak up and sort of decipher. And subscribe to the channels, both at That's My Sports and CPNY Sports. I am on Instagram and X as well as CPNY Sports. Aaron, take it away. Take us home.
Yeah, pretty much. I appreciate everyone that was in the chat, or if anyone's going to watch it and comment later. For That's My Sports, we talk about anything, and we're starting to do live streams on Tuesdays. So probably around like 9 o'clock, if anyone wants to come on, like I said in the beginning, we answer all questions, comments. You can follow us anywhere. We follow back. And if you ever see any trolling on any of the network, it's me. I do it. I have pretty much run all the social media content for That's My Sports. And also, CPNY Sports does not just have Feeling Blue. We got Knicks. We got the Mets, even though they're kind of going, into the off season. There's another
Yep.
one coming up for me and Chris here. We're trying to get another one going on here. I'm just not going to say it yet, just because it's kind of still in the works. And yeah, just appreciate all the followers, subscribers, and yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we got something, another project in the works for hockey, so pay attention to that. But yeah, lots of stuff going on, lots and lots and lots of content coming out, lots of stuff to keep track of on my end, especially. So I'm definitely busy. Appreciate everybody rocking with us, whether you're watching live or you did watch live or you're gonna watch the replay. Appreciate you. We're here to stay, feeling blue. New York Giants, hoping for a Monday Night Football win coming up. We will see you all next week. And like I said, as always, let's go New York Giants. And let's turn the season around. Appreciate you, Aaron. We'll see y'all later.